Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on March 11th, 2025 at approximately 9 p.m. PST. Now, I've made it my life journey to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, well, try that again. Well, I was stumbling a lot tonight. Now, I build myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the exact same philosophies I use to guide virtually every decision I make. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of other people over the years with varying degrees of success, depending on their own personal efforts. Now, before we get into things tonight, just a special, hats off to Storm. He is our primary moderator that makes certain all the tech keeps working properly as best we can. Of course, that really doesn't help when I fry the stuff, but he is also the one that makes sure the problem children are gone before they become problems. Fortunately, in the last little while, I haven't actually heard of any problem children. But then that's exactly what Storm does. He finds them first and removes them. Now, that said, we also have LA in the room. And LA is one of these wonderful people. She's the moderator that keeps things moving and also keeps an eye on my health. So you'll be happy to know, LA. I have had dinner tonight. Didn't actually get around to getting my aspirin in for my heart, but I'll do that as soon as the stream is over. Not quite ready for bed anyway. And we have a wonderful little addition today. Chad is actually in the room. Chad is another one of our moderators. But his life tends to be a little on the busy side, so we don't see him in here as often as possible. Well, that's not correct. We see him in here as often as possible. Now, I do know, if you take a look at it there, Philip Blair is in with the goal tonight. Philip, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I've been keeping real busy the last little while, but I'm very happy to let people know the ongoing process of getting rid of the clutter. I've got my entire inventory shelf now empty, and you'll notice right above the bed there is a shelf now. That shelf is absolutely completely cleared now. Phil goes, my mom likes fried chicken, but I don't know anyone who likes fried computer. Yeah, well, it's not so much I like them as it just happens. Now, today we are going to look at the third option. Okay, the ancient races solution to the current chaos. Now, understand they had this option centuries back, way before modern civilization. Oh, there we go. LA goes, Storm likes to make fried chicken and fixes the fried computers too. Yeah, they're just afraid of him. Funny part there is they get afraid of me, they die. They get afraid of him, they get up and walk away. Or start to work, one of the two. But, now, the problem we have here is that, as far as the ancient races go, is, first of all, the ones that have enough to straighten the problem out, literally, they had a similar problem, and they abandoned the surface and let humans take over. So they're not exactly, shall we say, adept at sorting that problem out. Okay. However, if they were to do it, they would sort it out by a simple method. Same way they sorted out the last one. Eradication of the problem children. And sad to say, we have a little bit of an issue there. because the Alpha race, the ancient one of the ancient races, literally they don't have human politics. So they would literally end up going, well, let's just eliminate the big problems. Okay, but that won't solve the problem at all. That just postpones the inevitable reemergence of problem children. Okay, what you got to realize with the Alpha race, they have, like humans have access to what we call 0 point energy. Basically, we manipulate reality based on our own will. Now, there have been a lot of different radio shows that have come out attacking the heart of the imagination of the human race. Okay, well, I shouldn't put it that way. Of the Western civilizations, anyway. Okay, the most obvious form of entertainment that has lasted longer than computers have, in all fairness, is gaming, as in Dungeons and Dragons, Aftermath, Traveler. Some of these games you guys will recognize. And woo, you are in with the silver. How's it going? You know, now there was a debate years ago on local radio over how dangerous D&D was. And I do bring this up for a simple reason. Okay, let's face it, as Dungeons and Dragons gamers, we don't actually cast fireballs or haste spells or growth spells. We don't do that. Now, the problem that I'm bringing this to light for is because the Alpha race does. Okay, these guys with a simple couple of words, and some of you pagan witch practitioners can do similar things. I know this because I know witches that have. I know one witch alive today. Okay, that she made a mispronunciation of one syllable of one word, and she incinerated the entire inside of her apartment without causing smoke damage to any of the neighboring apartments. And yes, both her and her daughter got out safe. So that's the one option. Okay. Yeah, LA goes, gaming teaches people to think and strategize. That's the neat part. A former girlfriend of mine looked at me one day and she goes, Keith, you don't game to escape reality. You game to planet. Okay. What you're seeing here in my office, the removal of all the clutter, is literally because my characters that I'm running right now in D&D are building an empire. They are clearing up the clutter. They are getting rid of the stuff they don't require. Now, the ancient races, the Elfin used to live on the surface. Now, yes, most of them lived in amongst the trees, in amongst the open meadows. Then you had the Calder race. You would know them as dwarves. These guys have a real simple solution. You're having problem with people, with the people in your cities, there's no problem. We just mine out from under them, drop everything into rubble, and you carry on. Okay, of course, with the Calder, butting heads is a bad idea. Okay, I swear they have a glasses plate on their forehead. In other words, the heavy armored piece under a tank. Now, with that in mind, the ancient races long ago agreed, until mankind can no longer survive, which, sad to say, may not be that far down the road. But they agreed that they would not step in and interfere. Understand, the ancient races are not bound by consortium law. This is their planet before it was man's. Well, more to the point, they occupied it first. So what you're looking at is a number of races of peoples that went, no, we already were on surface. This didn't work well. They've adapted to life underground. Now, as long as you guys don't continue digging holes and punching holes in the nurseries and that sort of thing, which is going to be a little tricky since you got to go down a good mile before you get there. But as long as you leave their homes alone, they'll leave yours alone. Just a recommendation. Don't go picking a war with them. It's just not going to end well. Bear in mind, with the Kaldar, if they really figured they had to do something, they have the ability to create a sinkhole under a city, okay, and leave one building in the middle of the city standing. They've got that kind of knowledge of the underground. Okay, not necessarily a good thing, but this is why sometimes you end up with a sinkhole. Okay, and by the way, just a minor sidetrack here. There was for the longest time a lot of question about where all these thunderous booms were coming from. Nobody could pin them down. That's because they come from underground. Now, one of the biggest things that we can do, take a look. A lot of the mythology that's out there regarding the dwarves and elves, a lot of it is actually not too terribly far off. Same as the fairy. Okay, it's not that far off the beaten path. But the one thing that these guys have that unites them is they look at each of their actual individual species and go, okay, this is our area, that's your area. You take care of that over there. We'll take care of our area here. And we just won't bother stepping through it. Now, Susan Ahern, how you doing? Glad you could join us. You are in with the bronze. The neat part about all this is the more we look at the ancient races and how they have pulled together, we can learn a lot about that kind of behavior just by watching them. Okay, now I'd recommend talking to them, but most of you, in all likelihood, don't. Mind you, most of you, in all likelihood, don't talk to your neighbors either. So what I'm looking at here, the ancient races. Now, if you take a look at most of the Alpha, there is one group of Alpha that you really wouldn't desire to have show up. Okay, because they are a volatile race. That if it weren't for the fact they lost the last war, okay, and they still remember the wars that happened way before man ever got here, they won't go after mankind because, unbeknownst to humans, the majority of the Elfid race are quite willing to let you guys continue on the surface. They have developed underground caverns, underground woodlands. Okay, and I know that sounds weird or pretty much not possible, but one day you might get the option of seeing it. But the majority of the Elfid races actually are quite content where they are. They do come out periodically as individuals. Ellie goes, we talk to the neighbors, most of them aren't freaked anymore. Somehow I don't doubt that. Me, I'm pulling away from everybody lately, except this stream. But no, the Elfid race, they do go up into the forest. Some of you guys see the fairies, okay? And when you look at them now, it depends on who you are. Some of you get along with them, some of you don't. And I really should have, actually, I can. But I'll do that for the next run. There you go. LA goes, of course, an occasional plate of cookies greases the skids. Now, of course, I know cookies are edible, But there's another type of edible cookie that you can be giving out that will make them very complacent. One of the things I find with the ancient races is they don't play games. And what I mean by that is if they're going to straighten a mess out, they're going to do it in a hurry. Fortunately, in your guys' case, asking the ancient races to step up and help. Number one, they're not going to do it. Number two, they are going to simply look at you and go, not going to happen. You're not ready for it. They already know. Okay, you think about it. 2,100 years ago, I watched this world collapse. I watched civilization as we knew it fall apart. You guys are doing the same thing, and the ancient races already know this. Okay, they already know you're still repeating the same patterns. Some of you are not. And it's my hope that through working with this stream, Eli goes, I'm not sharing my pod. Forget that. I actually thought that said I'm not sharing my past. But no, I just can't see you sharing that. And that's okay, because I gave up using it years ago. But, the intriguing part about it is the ancient races know mankind is not a quick learner. Okay, the human race does not learn quickly. Some of you are picking up the pieces, and this is what we're doing here. Is going, okay, time to get serious about this. Is why I've looked at the issue of, okay, how are these guys going to step in and help you? The fact is, you're going to have to do it, but you got to start talking to people and listening to and implementing changes that are necessary. Blue Cruz, you are in with honorable mention. Welcome aboard. So what we're going to do here over the next little while is, and I do have to sort that out, guys, I'm going to drop this on your lap again. We've got Friday panned out already, but where do we go with Saturday? I'm thinking that we start Saturday with literally putting everybody on the spot, as it were, and starting to make the changes, the same ones, quite seriously, the same ones that I've already implemented here. And we start moving en masse into a better world. But it's up to us to do it. Now, the ancient races, when you take a look at the caller, okay, they will simply do what they have to. Okay, they're quite content living underground anyway. But push comes to shove, if things get out of hand, you can bet you're going to start seeing if you will, unannounced, sinkholes. By the way, most people, and especially the environmentalists, look at the sinkholes and go, this is a natural phenomenon. Sometimes it is. Don't kid yourself. Problem is, not always. Okay. Now, we do have some of the other races. The fairy, let's face it, they're not going to do a lot of straightening this mess out. Matter of fact, I might just well do that. Give me just a couple of moments here. I'm going to show you something. This is literally just to show you why the fairy are not going to step into the picture and start helping you. Start helping mankind sort it out. This is a life-size model of a fairy. That's how big these little guys are. Somehow I can't see them driving a car anytime soon. I've actually got, I was asked one day about it. What do we got here? I was asked one day about it, quite literally. Somebody looked at this and went, was she alive at some point? I'm like, it's made out of plastic. But I literally had to explain that to somebody. But the Fae wonderful people, great for communication. If you've got an open flower garden somewhere where they can get to it. In other words, middle of a city, not necessarily. Okay, yeah, Philip goes, very tiny car. Yeah, it would have to be. Of course, they do like to fly. But the Fae are not about to step in. They will take care of the plants around you if you can find one that can, that is content. You don't have a problem. Okay, but some of you just don't have the talent for it. Even the Fae can't make a plant stay alive in my world. Okay, the energy here, the stress level has been way too high, but I think I may have finally bridged that. Now, we can go after some of the other races. Let me ask you this. Would it be wise? Whoops, what have we got? Did we drop? Nope. We can look at some of the other races that are really a lot of fun. Would you actually desire a Gron to step in? Now, the Gron are an ancient race. You know them as Minotaurs. And by the way, this isn't going to work well because their idea of fixing the problem, they call it dinner, or in this case, it would be a feast. Okay, they will step in quite readily on people that are badly abusing their shall we say less evolved cousins, also known from your standpoint as cattle, cattle bulls of varying different species. But ancient races on the whole are not going to step up and pull a plug. Oh, there you go. Yeah. LA goes, fairies are okay, but the pixies are too fond of my earrings. And if you think the pixies are bad on that one, the nixies are even worse. But, the reality is they are quite willing to point out what you're doing wrong, what you're doing ineffectively, if you listen. Okay? If you sit in a woodland, even if you have a house on the edge. Where are we here? Oh, Philip goes, war cries, screaming rituals, neighbors. So in the interest of being a good neighbor, I do not practice the screaming rituals. Good thought. Another problem, Philip. You start screaming war cries, and somebody may open fire. But don't forget, where it comes to those rituals, depending on what the purpose is. Now, war rituals are usually a bad idea in the first place if you're striving to promote peace. The Fae will quite literally, if you're sitting outside, here's a neat little tip for you. Outside, and you are hearing a real high-pitched whine. Okay, quite often now. It sounds very similar to a mosquito whine. Okay, except the Fae when they're talking, they talk at such a high rate. A mosquito whine is just a straight, steady pulse. Okay, exactly what causes it, I'm not 100% certain, but I suspect it's the wing vibration. It's like the wing cycle. With the Fae, that whine will change not only pitch, but it will also change on the draw. Because what they're doing is talking, and all you gotta do is thank them for slowing it down. Thin Lizzie, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I just got this image here, Lizzie. of you coming through the door and just all of a sudden stepping in, slamming the door shut and putting your back against the door going, I'm home, I'm safe. And I tell you, the world out there is getting stupid, I'm sure of it. The ancient races, maybe it's already got there, but the ancient races, if you thank them, and I do mean thank them for slowing things down, okay, they will slow their speech pattern down so that you can hear what they're saying. This is just the reality of it. But it boils down to thanking them, not asking them. Okay, they will take you literally. If you ask them to do it, they'll assume that you don't desire it, and they'll stay at the normal pitch. Oh, I did get into my coffee the other day. Well, clearly, but my other half asked me one day. I told her I was low on coffee. She goes, "Oh no, how much you got left?" I said, "I don't know, about 6 months." I now have about a year, which works out well from my end. Oh, there we go. Philip goes, "Birds are coming back now. The cat likes when the window is open. Sits there listening and watching the birds." Well, as long as she doesn't start bouncing off the window, that could be complicated. But the ancient races, many times you can spot them, and of course, with some of them, they can literally alter your perception so you don't see them. But watch for things happening in your house. And absolutely, thanking them for assisting you in getting your life in order works like an absolute charm. You'll get the ideas, you'll get the input. Okay? But remember, if you're asking them for help, if you're thanking them for their help, remember to act on it. Because if you don't act on it when you're asking, they will assume that you're not going to do it and they won't waste their time. One of the biggest complications I ever ran into with these guys was they don't understand that it takes longer to make things happen for a human than it does for a fairy. Okay. Yep. Now, the neat part about it, oh, there we go. Thin Lizzy goes, I'll get one side earring. Yeah. That is quite normal. I usually get it. It's usually in my right ear. Because I usually get the whispers in my left, which is an interesting setup. But the ancient races do not expect them to come to the surface to straighten out man's mess. Okay. They will, however, with some of you, they will watch over you when you're out where they can work with it. That's the one thing we got to remember. One of the biggest things that I've found with the ancient races, they'll watch mankind doing what they're doing, and they'll go, okay, this is going to fall apart, so let's get ready to make the most of that area. Uh-oh. Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Lizzie. I'm looking at that going, that's got to be a typo. But yeah, there's a lot of things that I find happen. Where did I put it? There's a lot of things that I find happen if you're paying attention that the ancient races will help. Okay? But what you got to remember is they all treat Earth, treat Mother Nature, Esau, any number of names. They all treat her properly. In other words, if you desire their help, absolutely treat the world and the animals around you properly. And yes, by the way, guys, humans are animals. Okay, I swear, I do swear a lot, but there are many humans, I swear, they're more closely related to a rutabaga than they are to a person. What do we got here? Oh, there we go. Ellie goes, I taught a Shih Tzu how to talk too. She'd say, I love mama. And yes, many animals can actually speak, or at least close to it. But so do many plants. I've got to go and find I've got to go to, actually, my son's work. I should go in there and see if I can get one. Because with the changes that have happened, the energy in my house now, with what I've put in motion, I can tell you this: the ancient races, some of the smaller ones, are going to open the door. Stress has been too high here. Okay, but we are bringing that back into balance. One of the things you got to remember is some of the ancient races have a simple philosophy: take the person and take the problem child out of a control position. Okay, and you do that, or what the Fairy do is they go, okay, here's an individual house, we can help guide it, and then tell them go out and teach the neighbors. Okay, this is why I've been asked to bring in some actual plans and see them now that I've eliminated the biggest stress in my life. Okay, no, I didn't commit suicide. Didn't even consider that option. But what we have to remember is turning to the ancient races. Absolutely. I mean, you think about it. They've got civilizations that have lasted hundreds of thousands of years. The reality of the Calder race is they literally don't the Calder race don't change, but they don't change because, well, frankly, they're essentially built from the mountains themselves. Okay. And with that in mind, there's no reason to change. They're comfortable the way they are, so they're steadfast. Okay. The elephant race is a little bit more, I think the word for it is flighty. Okay. They do have their customs and what have you. They certainly stick to the old rules in a lot of ways. But they're the ones that finally said, no, we messed this up. We're not doing it again. So they're patient. Okay, let's face it. Since they took over, there's a few of them of the original elephant race that are still around. Most of them most of the elephant race of the originals passed away a long time ago. Okay, but many of some of the really old race of the really old of the elder elephant saw the fall of Rome. Okay, most of them alive today, most of the adults alive, watched the Black Plague, the Black Death, ravage Europe. Okay, yeah, LA goes, I'm really good with animals, but I can't grow things at all. And I will tell you, I had a cat that was a pain in the neck, and I was used to rubbing the cat's nose in and spanking it. Well, my ex-wife was used to spraying it with water. So of course we had a cat that was a problem and three other cats in the house. I come around the corner, it was digging in the plant. So I grabbed it, held his nose in the dirt, smacked the heck out of his backside a couple of times, and then dawned on me, wait a minute. Wife asked that I get them wet. So, right into the sink. And I'll tell you, if you ever thought cats don't talk to each other, every one of the cats used to dig in the plants. After that day, not a one of them would touch a plant. Now, The ancient races are very traditional. Mankind right now. Oh, where are we here? Okay. Oh, there we go. Now I'm going to be pretty blunt, pretty direct about this because I'm dumber than a fence post half the time. There, Lizzie. Which, um, which of the subjects that we're bouncing off are you looking at? Because I'm at a point right now where I'm literally looking um at scheduling what topics I'm going into. One of the biggest ones that I do know on Friday we're going to be looking at NDEs. Oh, there we go. Yeah, cats do avoid citrus. They also, Philip, and Lizzie, cats also avoid roe. Now, you'll have to talk to the horticulturalist or the plant department to find out what a roe is. But in an outdoor environment, if you put row on either end, cats will leave on the either end of a 4 to 5 foot planter. The cats will stay away from it. Now, we're on the topic of cats here, so I'm thinking what we should look at. Where are we? We're on the topic of cats, so I'll give you guys the option. We can either look at Laborians or we can look at the feline. Now, I'm going to have to look up the name of them again. Okay, there is a feline race that lives on the same planet as the Alarians. Okay, I just don't recall the race's name right off the top of my head. Those are the two main ones I know of. There are other ones that are out there. And I believe, and this is Storm's department, I believe it was Larry Niven that wrote the story on the Kazinti. Now, the neat part about the Kazinti were they were a race. Now, I don't know them as the Kazinti, but now LA goes rue. It's an herb. So it's catnip. But I don't think that'll keep the cats out. But we can certainly look at that as in the ancient races. Matter of fact, I should probably get in dealing with those. But thanks, Storm. Now, the neat part about it with the ancient races, if you talk to them in their terms, now you can use English or whatever language you speak. Okay, they are quite versed in various different languages, but you gotta treat them with the respect they're asking for. Okay, not this is not a case of treat them like most people do with their neighbors. But the more relaxed your environment, the happier the ancient races are going to be with you. Now, I will tell you the odds of you actually meeting a calder in a city, not really good. They do show up periodically, as do the calder do. So do the Parake. Now, the Parake are another race that spends a lot of time in the hills. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Oh, great. LA goes, catnip will attract cats for miles, but it repels mice and rats. So what you end up with is a whole pile of cats in your garden, absolutely baked, but no blood. I can see that being an interesting side effect. But the ancient races, as long as you treat them and follow their customs, they're quite happy to deal with you. That's terrible, Philip. Phil's just saying when cats are begging too much to share dinner, all I have to do is hold down a piece of orange peel. And they're like, OMG, you people are gross. I do not want to eat that. You know, the nice part about it, now of course, there are felines. The Laborians, that was neat. The Laborian, there are a few of them still on Earth. Okay. But I will tell you, for them, they've got an interesting setup. They how do I put this? One day of theirs, and they are still keyed to their own home. Okay, but their life, literally, there are 365 days. Okay, that on Earth that pass. So 1 year passes, and they only get 1 day older. These are people that are natural born. They are high level gifted carnivores. Okay. And you do not want to hang with these guys because some of their talents take everything moving to a whole new level. Oh, Thin Lizzy goes, I'm on the 3rd floor balcony, so it's fine outside for little kitties. Now, I'm hoping you've got especially for the little ones. I know there's been a lot of cases where people have had open balconies. Putting a kitten on an open balcony, not a good idea. Okay, we're looking at the ancient race. They are not going to step in and say, here's how to fix your problem on a global level. They will help individuals. Okay, and this is one of the reasons why I'm going to be sitting down and actually reestablishing things, figuring out which plants will work well in low lighting. Because I will tell you this, when you're striving, one of the biggest things that people have gotten away from in Western society, not in Eastern, you go into Japan and into China, from what I gather, they've got a lot of open area, or where they bring in small garden areas inside their own homes. It's simply a way of keeping the air fresher. Okay. And the ancient races are quite willing to share this kind of thing with you. It's kind of like there are ways to lay out stones. Okay. And to build markers just by stacking stones that can help balance the energy. And in all fairness, that's not a bad thought. You can tell things are working a little differently. Well, I can tell they're working a little differently. There is something that you can do that comes from the ancient races and is very well accepted in the Eastern culture, not so much in the Western one. Okay, but what they do is the Zen gardens put one together. Okay. Well, since you found a cat that likes skydiving, you do know, Philip, you do know why blind people don't skydive, right? Not on the whole, they don't. I mean, they'll skydive in tandem, but blind people. Oh, okay. Yeah, Lizzie goes, I meant our regular cats versus an ancient cat race. We will absolutely, as a matter of fact, let me mark that in here. Neat little planning board. Just marking it down. Now we've got Friday set, so that puts this. That puts the domestic cats and domestic and ancient and non-human. How do I put that? Because there's off-worlders and ancient races. But we'll compare the domestic cats to some of the other races I know of. And we'll do that on Saturday. So that solves that problem. Well, that's part of it, but the other part is it scares the daylights out of the dogs. Cats are a little bit more laid back when they get comfortable. Seeing eye dogs, not so much. But when you look at it, the reality of it is, if you're looking for somebody to help you straighten this chaos out, absolutely, for your own home or your own business, the ancient races can be called upon and will quite willingly help you lay things out, help you set the energy patterns up properly. Okay, now I know of a few people that have figured it out. One of the biggest things that we have to remember where it comes to the ancient races is they handle the underground quite nicely, but they turn the above ground over to you guys. Okay, over to mankind. I do not know the book. In all fairness, Philip, I know very few of the books. Okay. But if you're hoping the ancient races are going to step into the picture and go, let's straighten this mess out, that's not the way it works. They will, however, help you set up either via telepathic link, or they'll literally talk to you and guide you to set up the energy in your own home. One of the things I will tell you, and I found this one out from one of the elephants. Okay, we've got pictures of plants and what have you. They rely on pictures, and when you're on the surface, the half elephants, the ones that are literally half breed, will literally rely on figures of animals, figures of plants. Okay, and figures do not mean that they've got to be some sort of plastic. Okay, but we're talking fake plants do carry the same kind of energy, and the more realistic they look, the better off you are. The one drawback, and this was pointed out very clearly, pretty much with common sense, plastic plants and pictures do not work as an air filter. Okay, they work great for calming energy because it gets people thinking of it being calm. Okay, one thing that would be advisable is if you're not content with the way your world is working, okay, focus on your home, focus on your business. Okay, now I will tell you this: in a business, I appreciate that, Lizzie. I really do. I've never considered myself having much of a sense of humor, but if you've got a business, okay, and you've got a reflective surface, I see so many people, and I found this one out. I was talking to a young lad, okay. Now, hate when I do that. So, hate when I pull a blank on a name, or more to the point, on a race. Oh, didn't even get it open all the way. Was talking to a young lad, an H-Wari. Okay, or more to the point, the H-Wari. He's the one that spotted the problem with what people were doing with cash registers, especially in jewelry stores. Okay, because everybody puts these things on on mirrored images. And what he suggested was you turn around and you put some sort, either an actual plant or just a representation, around the edges of the mirrors. This will enable you to calm the energy down and stop the finances from bouncing away. Okay, this is why. Matter of fact, I wonder if I've got it here. No, it's out the other room. But something just dawned on me. It's time to really start moving the energy pattern around here as far as the prosperity level goes. But I brought this young one in. Okay, this was brought when this was brought to me. Okay, I was told it was the life representation of a very good friend of mine. She's about that height. Okay, and it was her that came in here, and her sister. Well, her not exactly sister, but a good friend of hers. Okay, came in and said, okay, now that you've got the major stress points wiped out, now it's time to start building the energy pattern. Okay, time to start building the prosperity levels. That boils down to stacking the deck using a very ancient practice, also known as Feng Shui. And yes, the ancient races, some of them rely on it heavily. Okay, the Elfid, they deal with plants a lot, as do the Fairy. Okay, but when you're dealing with the Calder, they deal with sculptures, they deal with stone, with various different things like your Zen garden. Very happy with them. Okay, but they do it not only they don't only do it on the side of let's lay it out, let's just do color patterns on the ground. They literally will layer their stuff. Okay, especially if they're trapped in an environment where they really can't get back to where they desire to be. They will build their environment around them. In this case, I've got the whole office sorted out now. Now these guys are stepping up and saying, here's what you can do to change it, to improve it even more. The ancient races will help individuals, but they are not good at striving to straighten out entire civilizations. Because most of them, like the good ones, will help the individuals. The rest are going to sit there and go, well, they're going to botch it completely one day, and then we're just going to come back to the surface. And bearing in mind, I hate that. Bearing in mind, when you're looking at the ancient races, they have been underground in what we call inner earth, okay, for eons. And now some of them are going, well, these guys botched it badly. Why don't we make a go of the surface again? And they're getting more and more support for it. But fortunately, the original people that set the whole thing up in the first place, not the original humans, but the original Elfid that set up the agreement to go underground and let mankind have a run. The originals that signed those contracts are still alive. And because of that, you're looking at a people that won't force the change. And they're certainly not dumb enough to go after trying to kill these guys. Okay, so what we gotta realize is our world is in a bad way. We have an opportunity to change it, but we're going to have to work together. Okay, and this really boils down to, I wonder, I'm just going to quickly check this. I don't think it's changed. we are down to the 5-minute mark, which I do appreciate the heads up there, LA. Now, first and foremost, I do want to say thank you so very much for your experience and how your past life memories can bring things to bear. I didn't just lose. Nope, there we are. Okay. And how prosperity of the ancient days back into your world. Okay, let's take life experiences and see what you can figure out and what you can learn from them. On Saturday, we're going to take a look at domestic cats and their connection to some of the other feline races. Okay. And absolutely remember, if you've got questions, bring them along. Put them in the chat room, in all caps. If you don't have the ability to get into the chat room, definitely drop me a line. That's where you go to the top of the line there, to the Buy Me a Coffee link. That'll tell you how to get a hold of me real easy. Now, in the meantime, we're down to under the 5 here. So, I'm going to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with us. Yeah, it really does. I will be back. Well, yeah, this Friday, I will be doing a Day in the Office episode 13 at 4:30 p.m. From 4:30 to 6:30, and then I'll be back on here at 9 p.m. Okay, now, until we meet again, do take care of yourselves and each other, and for